Presented by eBix Cash. हर खुशी के लिए काफी है.
Hello and welcome. You're with us here on Business Today. I'm Abha Bakaya. Here are the headlines tonight. Bulls roar as the Sensex closes above 61,000 for the first time. Nifty rises for the sixth straight day. IT, metals, banks shine. Car sales plunge as manufacturers are unable to meet demand because of semiconductor shortage. Year-long waiting periods for popular models. Rising costs, a new worry. Less than a week after Air India is sold to Tata, employees threaten strike if a list of their demands is not met, refuse to leave the Air India colony in Mumbai and Delhi. G20 finance chiefs back a global tax deal against tech giants. Deal includes 15% corporate tax and rules to force large companies with high profit margins to pay more in the countries where they earn money. Later on the show, we get you a sneak peek into all-new Tesla Model 3, which is expected to hit India soon. Well, what a week it's been for equities, with markets displaying strength on all 4 trading days. Benchmarks hit fresh life highs in trade on Thursday, the Nifty closing above 18,300. That's for the first time ever, in fact, with gains of about 176 odd points, up close to 1%. Similarly, with the Sensex with gains of over 500 points. 4th day running, new records, and today, in fact, seeing a fantastic close. Adani Ports saw a jump of 7.1%, followed by Wipro after its numbers yesterday, which came in post-market hours. Let's take a look at that screen. Other gainers included Grasim, HDFC Bank, ITC. But look at that move on a Wipro post-earnings today. Laggards in trade, Coal India, Tata Motors, Eicher, Auto taking a bit of a knock. HCL Tech also, again, tech earnings have been in focus. HCL just cooling off a little bit there. Coal India and HDFC Life also some of the names making up the losers list in trade today. The India VIX was down 2% at 15.77. The star of the Lal Street was unmistakably IRCTC. The company, which reserves tickets for your rail journeys, was listed exactly 2 years ago today. The listing price was 644 rupees against the issue price of 320 rupees a share for this superstar state-owned entity. Today, the IRCTC stock jumped to 556 rupees on the NSE, climbing to a new high of 5,845 rupees. That's a massive 1,800% rise in 2 years over its issue price. Experts say the price could rise further as rail reservations get back on track after the COVID lull. The wholesale price index, or the WPI, that's the wholesale price-based inflation rate, reduced to 10.66% in September versus 11.39% in the previous month. The decline was helped by moderating food prices and came about despite what we're seeing on those rising retail fuel prices. However, when compared to last September, when the WPI stood at 1.32% during the pandemic, the index has risen sharply. Meanwhile, consumer prices, as measured by the CPI, also slowed to a 5-month low of 4.4% in September. Festive season demand and increased energy prices are expected to see inflation rise in the months ahead. The RBI, which keeps close track of retail inflation for its monetary policy moves, kept interest rates unchanged at record lows in its most recent review last week. Now, if you were looking for proof that all's not well in Motown, you have it. Car sales have plunged in September, with just 160,000 units sold this September, a massive fall from 2.7 lakh units last year. However, it's not demand that's the reason for the dip. As Aishwarya Paliwal reports, it's actually a technical difficulty.
Call it revenge buying, call it a return to festive spirit after 18 months of a financially and emotionally draining pandemic. But customers are back in numbers. For the auto sector too, it could have been full throttle ahead, except it isn't. The debilitating shortage of semiconductors has thrown the entire car industry out of gear. In September, 160,070 cars were sold, a massive fall of 30% from August and 41% down from September last year. Two-wheeler sales were down 17% on month to 15,28,000 units.
It is not the lack of demand which is crippling the auto industry. It's not as if customers don't want cars. Customers want cars. They are flocking to showrooms. It's the industry which is not able to meet the demand. Why? Because of the massive shortage of semiconductors. And it is this shortage which is crippling the sector, not just in India, but across the world.
What's different this time is that it is not the low demand which has crippled the market. Customers want cars. They are flocking to showrooms. It's the car manufacturers who are unable to fulfill the demand. Why? Because of the shortage of semiconductors, which has handicapped the auto industry not just in India, but all over the world. Reports suggest that car companies sitting on order books exceeding 500,000 vehicles. Waiting periods for most in-demand vehicles range between 9 months to a year. Most other cars are also not available off the shelf. This has in fact forced many customers to cancel their bookings out of sheer frustration. There have been new car launches during Navratras. Mahindra's XUV 700 has attracted more than 50,000 bookings. MG has also launched the Aster, while Tata has started the bookings for its micro SUV Punch. But with the semiconductor crunch showing no signs of easing, customers are wondering whether auto companies can really deliver their desired set of Hot Wheels. Bureau Report, Business Today TV.
Some cheer for job growth. The Indian information technology sector, one of the largest employers in India, is set to hire many more in the coming year. This on the back of a recovering economy and growing digital adoption across all manner of businesses. Leading firms like TCS, Infosys and Wipro are expected to together hire over 153,000 employees in FY22. According to a TeamLease Employment Outlook report, Indian IT firms intend to hire nearly 69% more employees in the coming year. Not just IT, the rapidly growing educational services segment intends to add nearly 64% more jobs, while healthcare and pharma companies are seen adding nearly 50% jobs to their existing headcount. As per the TeamLease report, IT sector jobs are increasing due to increased business activities, improvement in industrial and services sector activity, rise in demand across sectors, and as the Indian economy picks up pace and the COVID vaccination drive deepens, business activity is set to rise further. Mohandas Pai, Chairman, RN Capital Partners, joining us now. Mr. Pai, great to have you on the show tonight. Is the IT sector not just back on track, but literally zooming? Does the increased hiring show that optimism in the sector is back in full swing?
Yeah, the IT sector is back on track, primarily because of the fact the world is spending enormous amount of money on digitization. 2019, the world spent $2 trillion on digitization pre-COVID. COVID is a hiatus. And now I think they'll probably spend $2.5 trillion all over the world. In the United States, Europe, everywhere else, they're spending more money, even in India, because the world has gone digital. When the lockdown happened, the world saw the digital revolution at full play. Half the world's population went fully digital. And now all businesses are reconfiguring the technology. There's a huge upsurge of demand for technology. And the Indian software service companies, the leading players, so they are going and hiring a lot of people. And apart from that, in the startup sector in India, there's an enormous demand for people. Remember, the startups have got $22–23 billion so far. By the end of the year, they could get $25–30 billion. And they're possibly hiring between 100 to 150,000 engineers this year. So there's a huge amount of hiring. I think the total hiring this year will be 400 to 500,000 between the software service industry and the startup industry.
All right, Mr. Pai, thanks so much for joining us. The government will shortly begin the formal process for appointing the next Chief Economic Advisor in the Ministry of Finance. Government sources told Business Today TV that the search and selection panel is likely to be headed by a former economic policy mandarin and would include the Secretaries of Department of Economic Affairs and Department of Personnel and Training, among others. So, Karishma Sudani joining us on this. Karishma, by when do you think the new CEA will be appointed?
Well, it's going to be difficult to predict the specific timeline, but sources tell us that the government is definitely looking at continuity in the process. In fact, a search selection committee could be appointed anytime soon by the Finance Ministry and is likely to be headed by an economic policy mandarin. In fact, like we know, it is the current CA Krishnamurthy Subramanian who's going to get back to academia after 3 years of his tenure on December 6th. So looks like the process is going to take off anytime soon, and it's also procedural that government will be inviting applications through advertisement for this position.
Thanks, Karishma. G20 finance leaders endorsed the historic global tax deal that calls for the elimination of unilateral digital services taxes. This will give countries the right to tax large digital companies, including Microsoft, Google, and Facebook. The deal includes a global minimum corporate tax of 15% and rules to force large companies with high profit margins to pay more in countries where they earn money. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, who's attending the G20 summit, mentioned in her tweet that the agreement will help address tax challenges arising from the digitization of economy and in dealing with tax base erosion and profit shifting issues. Less than a week after the centre announced that it will sell Air India over to the Tata Group, the airline employee unions have come forward with their own list of demands. These range from continued free accommodation in some of the poshest localities in Delhi and Mumbai, apart from post-retirement medical benefits.
Days after the government managed to get this money guzzler albatross off their neck, they have another problem. Used to government cultures and perks, Air India unions are a jittery lot and playing hardball just before being handed over to a private employer. 3 of the unions representing engineers and other staff have threatened to strike work from the 2nd of November if they are forced to vacate their residences in Air India colonies. The employees have been asked to sign an undertaking by the 20th of October that they will vacate their houses within 6 months of the Air India privatisation. Their demand that they be allowed to live there till the end of their service. It's the location of these colonies and residences which explains why Air India employees do not want to vacate them. In Delhi, the Air India colony is in the enviable Vasant Vihar area. In Mumbai, the main colony is in Kalina, close to the airport. But Air India has flats and houses in the Tony areas of Pali Hill, Bandra, Cuff Parade, Santa Cruz, and yes, Altamount Road. Meanwhile, the pilots and the cabin crew unions have their own list of 6 demands. Housing is one of the top demands, but apart from this, the unions also want clarity on leave encashment under the Tata regime, medical facilities for serving as well as retired employees, post-retirement benefits for all employees irrespective of their tenure, their pre-COVID bonuses and allowances, and payment of all arrears before the handover.
Despite the government's assurances that all employee concerns have been addressed, it is clear that employee welfare continues to be a grey area. It will obviously be one of the topmost concerns for the Tatas, who are known to be good employers, as they prepare for the headwinds of the Air India takeover. Paulami Saha in Delhi for India Today.
Rakesh Jhunjhunwala's meeting with the Prime Minister on the 5th of this month is in the news again, this time for his PowerPoint presentation to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The presentation has gone viral on social media.
हमारा टाइम आएगा नहीं हमारा टाइम आ गया है.
The big bull on a rampage, taking on the skeptics of the India growth story at the India Today conclave. Just 3 days earlier, Jhunjhunwala began his presentation to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. With the same words, he spoke at the India Today conclave.
हमारा टाइम आएगा नहीं हमारा टाइम आ गया है. हमारा टाइम आएगा से हमारा टाइम आ गया है अलग है. अब आ गया है.
My dear boy, तुम्हारे देश ने कुछ नहीं दिया. India's contribution is 0, 0 and 0.
And this massively emotive clip from the 1970 movie Purab or Paschim, guaranteed to evoke strong emotions at Lok Kalyan Marg, was used to perfection by the ace investor whose airline, Akasa, will soon take to the skies. Followed by highlighting the foundation and enablers for India's 10% GDP growth leap.
वो बोलता है ना कि मुहूर्त का समय आ गया हिंदी फिल्म में कन्या को लाइए तो हिंदुस्तान का मुहूर्त हो गया है.
Then the main reasons for his confidence in the India story. The skill of its people, using the strength of software and pharma exports, saving and investments, the inclusion impact of social welfare schemes, structural growth, spike in tax collections, and the biological evolution which has India ready to unleash its animal spirits.
You know what Tiwene said, no? What God ordains, even time cannot disdain. What time ordains, even gods cannot disdain. So it is my personal opinion, I reserve the right to be wrong, that people will be surprised at the upsides in the Indian economy. And we have created the infrastructure for mopping savings in a country with $1 trillion of savings, projected to go to $3 trillion by 2030.
There were some suggestions as well. A greater push to disinvestment, to the agri sector, and to reduce administrative expenditure. For the big bull, that's all India needs to be, a global superpower and lead to the Sensex rising to 500,000 points.
See, the Sensex is going to be 5 lakh one day, but I don't know the day, how many years. But I am innately bullish. I think we are coming into a phase which India economically has never seen. And we are living in a country with $1 trillion of savings.
For market watchers, the big bull is the prophet of money. And he seems to be doing his best to drive home the message from Mint Street to Lok Kalyan Marg. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Now, in an exclusive conversation with Business Today's Udayan Mukherjee, Sumant Sinha of Renew Power explains how US listing gives an opportunity to showcase India's capabilities globally and attract leading investors to the country's green energy space. Listen in.
Investors in India might hold a grouse against you. You know, there are very few renewable energy assets to invest in India, but you chose to go all the way to the NASDAQ to list. I can understand there were good reasons for it, but why not consider an IPO in India and give Indian investors the chance of investing in your company?
Yeah, look, Udayan, that's a great question, of course, and we considered listing in India very seriously as well. And keep in mind that our decision was being made somewhere towards the end of last year, almost a year ago, at which time the environment in India was quite different. So that is one thing, I think. The second thing, of course, is that ESG investing globally has really picked up. And global investors are looking very seriously at good investment opportunities. And for us, to take the Indian opportunity to global investors and to tell them about how rapidly the Indian market was growing, what the opportunities were, what the government's program was to convert the energy system here towards renewable energy, and to give them the chance of investing in India and to invest in a reasonable sized company like ours, it seemed to make a lot of sense. And from our standpoint, what we get is access to a deep liquid pool of investors, which hopefully can help us in the future as well to raise capital, which is not to say that we mightn't have had the same opportunity in India, but it is just that to us, global investors seemed more aware of the changing dynamic in the energy industry, and also with their focus, as I said earlier, on ESG investing, seem to provide a better receptivity to a story like ours.
Catch more of that interview with Sumant Sinha Friday night on the Business Today show, 10:30 p.m. While tech and auto enthusiasts keenly await the official launch of Tesla in India, our tech editor Ayush Alwadi spent a day with the Tesla Model 3 in Bengaluru. So what's the Model 3 really like on Indian roads? Have a look.
Pinch yourself, this isn't a dream. The Tesla Model 3 is here with us on Indian roads. The big question that we keep asking, even at Business Today, is this a tech company? Is this an automotive company? Is it a tech company that just builds cars? Is it Elon Musk's passion project? Well, it is one of the coolest car brands out there, the most coveted, the most sought after, and we have the Tesla Model 3 here on India Today. Yeah, don't miss the alloys on this one. And of course, Tesla has this uncanny knack of picking colors like this one. You can spot the cameras as well, 8 of them around the car. I'll get inside and show you the dynamic range on those cameras. That is when you know this is a technology company. When you have so many smartphone manufacturers putting millions of dollars into really acing their smartphone camera game, you have to see the rear camera and the side cameras on this. In fact, that's what makes the autopilot sensors really work. And that's an interesting technology play. This is also one of my favorite parts of the car. If you want to unlock it, this lovely, classy, this is not my visiting card, the Tesla card, tap it right here on this sensor. And when you see, well, the rear view mirror is turning, the car has unlocked for you. You're already worried about the rising fuel prices? Then you don't need to pull any lever inside. All you have to do is come at the back, give this a nice tap, and that reveals the charging ports. Traditionally, you'd have a trunk at the back, but since this is an EV, you're not going to be cribbing about storage space anytime soon. Time to take you guys inside. This is what makes the car truly special. Put my foot on the brake, enter my personal code for my profile. There you go. It feels like a sci-fi movie, honestly. And I want to show you guys what the entire interior is like. It's clean, it's subtle, it's smooth, it's classy. Well, of course, you have this fantastic sporty steering wheel. There's no, display over here with your cluster and then a smaller screen out here. It's just one neat tablet. The ground clearance here on this car, right about here, we've had some issues while we were taking it out for a spin. Well, essentially on a lot of the bumps and a lot of the speed breakers, this wasn't necessarily the car you would want on those particular roads. But, well, we managed. We slalomed through it on different angles.
After spending a day testing the Model 3 on Bengaluru roads, we headed to the heart of the city to find out what the owner of this vehicle makes of his Tesla experience.
Honestly speaking, after getting it, I never knew it has got so much of craze. Even when we were going in our Bentley, which is about 15 times than this, but even girls, forget about everything, forget about the traffic boys and all who are going motorcycle. Girls, the moment they turn, hey, Tesla, Tata.
And catch that full experience on the Tesla Drive, BTTV, Saturday 6:30 p.m. and Sunday 11:30 a.m. And that's all from us on the show today. Thanks so much for watching.